Lesson 15's on volume and expressions. The first thing we're going to go over is evaluating expressions, because this realistically is a ton of algebra that we use, and we really want to make sure that you guys understand how to evaluate it, but also you're doing it the correct way. So sometimes you're going to be given an expression and you're going to be given what the variables represent. So in this case, the A represents 3 and B represents 2. Then what you're trying to do, you're trying to find, well, what's the final answer of this? That's what it means by evaluating. Find the answer. The first thing that you want to do is you just want to rewrite it out with A and B as numbers, not as variables. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to write 3, A is 3, and B is 2, and this whole thing is squared, minus 2, A is 3, so that's squared, minus 2. Now, this is the part that kids mess up the most on, is they don't remember order of operations, and that's where we end up getting different answers than the correct answer sometimes. So, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We all remember that, or there's different combinations of it. The first thing we're going to do is parentheses. So, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. So I really have 18 squared minus, okay, think about this one here, and what I mean by that is the second part. What am I going to do here first? Well, this is multiplying, and this is exponents. I'm going to do my exponent first and then multiply. So 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. So I'm going to do minus 18 minus 2. Next thing I'm going to do, again, order of operations, and then we move left to right. So 18 squared is 324 minus 18 minus 2. So then all I'm going to do is just go in order, and it ends up being 304. Okay, most important thing when you're evaluating expressions is remembering the order of operations. If you mess up the order of operations, then that's where you're going to have your flaws in your answer. So in 8th grade, we focus on 3-dimensional volume. Okay, so it's basically what you're doing is you're finding the area, but it's going to be of a 3-dimensional object, so that's why it's called volume. So we work with 3 different types: cone, cylinder, and sphere. For your cone, it'll look that way, or sometimes it's upside down, okay? And the volume for that is 1/3 pi r squared times my height. Okay, height is just like what it looks like when you guys work with triangles. It's going to be there. Okay, your radius, remember, in a circle is half of your diameter. So your radius is your diameter divided by 2. Okay, your diameter is also 2 times your radius, in case you ever need that or you forget that. Okay, just so we understand, your diameter is across the entire cross length of your circle. For a cylinder, most commonly think of like a can of soup or a can of ravioli, SpaghettiOs, that sort of thing. Okay, so our cylinder looks like this, or you may see it sometimes sideways, and forgive my drawing, I'm not the best artist. And the volume, or the formula for the volume, is pi r squared times your height. And the reason for that being is because a cone is actually 1/3 the volume of a cylinder. And I'll show you the proofs of those when we get to school. I actually have manipulatives that I can show you as to why that is the way it is. Again, your radius is half of your diameter. Your height is going to be whatever this is right here. Okay. and then pi. For all of these, they'll tell you in the directions to use 3.14 for pi or use the pi symbol. Really, it doesn't necessarily matter which one you use. You end up getting very similar answers. The only difference may be the decimal might be a hundredth or a thousandth of a difference, because as we know from previous lessons, pi is irrational, which means it continues on and on. So you're multiplying it by more decimal numbers than you are if you're just doing 3.14. More than likely, we'll just use 3.14 for worksheets and your proficiencies. Okay, so your sphere is a little different. A sphere you can think about as any kind of ball, baseball, softball, volleyball, marble, bouncy ball, golf ball, those sorts of things, wiffle ball, if you will. And the formula for that one is 4/3 pi cubed. Okay. Another way, if you wanted to do this, you could do 4 times pi r cubed divided by 3. You'll end up with the same thing with the fractions. The reason there is no height in the sphere is that everything is a circle, so all you have is a radius. That's why it's radius cubed, because you have 3 different dimensions for your radius. So again, you're going to use 3.14 for pi more than likely. And you need to remember your orders of operations when you're working with this, even though it's all multiplication. I always do my r squared or my r cubed first and work my way from there. Now, if you're working with compound figures, so for example, let's say you have a cone and a cylinder, okay, I would break apart the figures first and then add them together at the end.